You're on the line. What are your thoughts?
Hey, how's it going tonight?
It's going amazing.
Cool, cool. So, I saw that you were streaming about this, and I thought I'd call in and get your perspective on some things because your stream seems confused to me. I feel like you might have some things a little bit wrong.
Hmm.
So, the first thing I want to know is why are you presenting this as though, or why are people presenting this as though the jury was all white?
What do you mean by why are they presented as if it was all white?
Because I'm seeing a lot of people in your stream chat and everything else. People are saying this was an all-white jury when it just was they had no black people on the jury. Why are people presenting it like this?
Because that's how it was presented, probably online. But the vast majority of the jury was white. So
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not quite the case. Yeah, so you got that at least figured out. Do you know why there were no black jurors on?
you mean the three that were dismissed?
Yeah, do you know why
Yeah, I'm aware.
they were dismissed?
Do you believe that
So
they couldn't find a black person that would say that, hey, I'll look at the case fair? Do you believe that's what they were suffering from?
I mean, I'm sure that they could have had people on that were more than fine with treating this fairly, but the people they had
So
selected, I
do
guess
you think
they
that it
they
was impossible to find a black person that was able to come to that conclusion?
No, but at the same
Okay.
time, I think if you're trying to get jury duty and stuff started up or whatever, I don't think you're going to stall just to try to find a bit of fairness in the land according to some kind of idea about race, right?
Got you. So you believe that three black people, that was it.
What? What do you mean?
As far as them finding, as far as jurors,
Well,
when during
so
the jury
why why
selection.
why would that have been important in the first place?
Why would what?
Why would they need any black people on the jury in the first place? Why is that important?
Why do you think that maybe someone would argue that would be important?
Because they're trying to involve diversity. I don't know why. You
You
have
you
to have
can't
a
come to
proper
any
reflection.
conclusion as to what. Are you from America
Yeah.
or are you an immigrant?
No, no, I'm from here. Yes.
Okay. Are you aware of the history of the country or
I'm I'm
loosely
not concerned
based?
with that. I'm not concerned with that. I'm concerned
You're
with
not
why you
concerned with
think
the
it.
history of America, the country that you're from?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm asking you why you
Gotcha.
think it's important to even have black juries on in the first
Well, I
place. Why
tried
is
to
that
maybe,
important?
lead you, take your hand down that intellectual route, but it seems that you seem to be, I don't know, either
No,
disingenuous or
I'm asking you a
unable
quite
to come to a
straightforward question.
conclusion.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm
and
asking you a
I
quite
begged I
straightforward
begged the
question.
question by asking you, why do you think that is? You couldn't come to any fathomable
But
conclusion as to
why
why
do I think
why
why do
in
I
a
think what?
case such as this in Texas, why they would maybe someone would want maybe a black person on the trial. So let's move past. Do you have anything else to discuss?
Wait, hold on. So are you saying that the jury would not be fair at all because there are no black people on?
I don't believe those words ever came out of my mouth. Do you have anything else you'd like to
Well,
discuss?
that's what I'm trying to figure out because you're trying to stress that they need black jurors on period at the end. Why is that even important?
Do you have anything else you'd like to discuss?
But I want to know. That's one of the questions I'm trying to figure out. Why is it
I think
that
I've said
jury
what I've
was?
said. Do you have anything else you'd like to discuss, or is this call
But
over?
I need to know why you think that matters.
So is this call
Are
over?
you saying? Wait, are you saying
It
that
it sa-
all?
it sounds like
Are
this
you
call
saying
is
that?
okay. That's what I thought. If you want to be intellectually disingenuous, go ahead. Don't be with me. Don't waste my time. Go talk to the mayonnaise. Go talk to I don't know whatever you do. Don't waste my time trying to act like whoa, why would we even need a black person on the? I don't know. You're right. I don't know. It's stupid. It's dumb. Why would people say that it was a white jury when there were six there were what two Asians and two Latinos and a Middle Eastern and Indian person on it. Like what? It's not all white. What are we talking about? Actually, sure, by all means. I find it interesting that there were people complaining that there were no white people possibly on the Amber Geiger trial. Do y'all remember that? I remember Tatum was talking about, oh, she's not going to get a fair trial because there were no white people on the trial. Um, y'all have fun with that one. Y'all take care. Don't waste my fucking time with your low IQ drivel. You're on the line. What are your thoughts?
Hey, what's good? It's May Money. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
So as you can see with this stream here, I called into the amazing Lucas's stream. I was curious what because I long ago had completely ditched him after I forget what the case was or what the thing was that caused me to stop like watching his stuff. I thought he was okay for a while, but history aside, I'm revisiting his stuff and I'm seeing that he's only just become worse, right? He now, from what I'm gathering from how he's doing things, he's seemingly a black supremacist, right? Kangs and all that shit, right? I am someone that just wants to get things figured out. I'm going on my own little journey through life. I want to understand people still, you know. Even though I could call a spade, I try to do that because being that I've been studying people for over 20 years, like my point and purpose with a lot of people is, you know, what are they thinking? What do they think of this thing here? Now, what Lucas did here was a disaster for him because I was trying to figure out, and he basically implied this enough on his own. I'm trying to figure out because there's a focus, a care, right? Some emphasis on having black people on the jury. Now, when you have a case, right, a court case, if jury duty, right, you have people don't want to be held up, right? At the same time, like this is a charged court case, right? You could conceal, right? You could conceal what it is until deliberation and all this other stuff starts, but that is not useful. You know, people are called in for jury duty. They can't really be held up for longer than they really need to be, right? I mean, obviously, like, jury duty deliberation takes as long as it does, but just to even start shit, like, you know, to even get this conversation had and to render a verdict of some kind, you know, I don't understand all the things, but I understand, like, you know, taking up time just to find, like, a black guy or whatever that's not biased. You know, it's with a case like this, people, if you are to consider some ideas about some cultures and some things about tribalism and other things like that too, you know, you would maybe consider the idea that, you know, you got all this theft shit going on, right? All this, that, and the other thing. If someone wants to get in on the jury and try to complicate things and make things take longer, all you gotta do is just fucking lie. Okay? But fortunately, the people that were disqualified from being on the jury, they were straight up. The people that weren't allowed on the jury or whatever, the people that were dismissed, they said, "Oh, I couldn't really be in on that because I can't see a brother go." So you're trying to tell me, like, we absolutely have to find black people, right? So what that is telling me, right, you know, because Lucas's position here is we should definitely spend extra time to make sure that we have black people on the jury, okay? Whether or not you believe in diversity or whatever, what's being told to me through Lucas's insistence on moving on, and even before that, where he said, like, we really should find some black people, is that everyone else on the jury, you know, and anyone else that we could find that isn't black, I'm not going to see them as being fair. That's for you to think that, like, that's what leads me to believe, aside from all the other bullshit I heard on your stream, dude, that you're a black supremacist. And you expect us to care about your opinion on the Karmelo Anthony fucking thing. We're supposed to give a fuck about what you think when, you know, you are proposing yourself to be the kind of person that we want to avoid even having in on conversations. Because here's the thing about fanboys, right? Fanboys like Nintendo as an example, they don't care about the conversation. They care about allegiance strictly. And if you fall short of that, then you are a problem and you should be treated poorly to whatever degree that we find acceptable in our baseless immorality, okay? That chasm, right? We have, because that chasm exists in you, we have to exclude you. So the fact that you are so up your own ass to do with all this, it's a tribal thing for you. Because you would argue that we have to have, for sure, black people on the jury. For sure we have to. When, I mean, if you just look at, like, all the things to do with this, Granted, people who are in on that same Kool-Aid drinking session, like fucking Lucas over here, facts don't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the facts are, right? I mean, I don't see, from like reporting since day one, I don't see the facts changing to suit this idea that Karmelo would be deserving of anything less than even like 50 years in prison. So we're gonna have, because people, there's some amount of confusion, even though the story has been the same from what I've seen. The story has been the same since it happened, the whole thing, right? So facts be damned, right? This is how I think of things. I think of things particularly. So what happened, right? Karmelo Anthony, he went to this track meet. He was going against a rival school, right? He brought a knife in his bag onto school grounds, dude. Okay, all right. You bring a knife to school grounds for this track meet, and even before that, you were saying shit like, "Oh, I want to get into a fight," and blah blah blah, and yada yada. There's shit like that out there, and I can't really even apply it to this too much, but there is a thing about premeditation there before even like bringing up the knife part. But I want to stick to what I understand to be the case. Karmelo Anthony brings a knife to a track meet, and he was in a tent. He was sitting under a tent of the rival school or whatever, and he was told to leave like 15 times or whatever. And he said, "Go ahead, do it. Go ahead, do it. Go ahead, touch me, see what happens. Go ahead, see what happens. Touch me, see what happens." And you have like witness stuff that basically says like, no one put hands on the guy, but I don't know what to believe in that case. However, telling people over and over, "Oh, go ahead and do it." It's like, see what happens. And you're reaching into your bag and stuff, right? Go ahead, see what happens. So now you're intimidating someone with what could be considered a veiled threat, and in response to people telling you to fucking leave an area that you weren't supposed to even be at, right? And people are saying, "Oh, you shouldn't put hands on Karmelo Anthony. You shouldn't have done that because you self-defense, blah, blah, blah." This isn't like a self-defense thing, okay? This is akin to someone at a restaurant telling you to leave the restaurant, okay? And if you are in an area you're not supposed to be and you're being told to leave, you are a trespasser. At a point, you are a trespasser. And so your first idea in your fucking empty head, right, where all bad ideas echo about and bounce around, your bright idea is to use a fucking knife against someone that wanted to move you from the area, right? You're telling people to move you and to see what happens. Just because you say that, it doesn't mean that you're given the opportunity and privilege and right to attack someone. And, I'm not surprised it only took the jury 3 hours to deal with you because, given that the people on Karmelo Anthony's side were contradicting themselves numerous times, with the defense even going so far as saying, "Oh yeah, Austin Metcalf impaled himself." So you guys are not just lying about things, you're also desperate. You're going against your own narrative at points. So you killed a child. You fucking killed a child. 17-year-old. Austin, you killed a child. And so that's like my big issue with this. Is that a child was murdered. You murdered a child. You're a child killer. Democrats wet dream, a black child killer. Isn't that fucking cute? So what do I want to have happen here? Being that I believe that innocent people should not die, and it's a child who died, I'm not even going off the fact that the guy is white. I think any child dying that is innocent, any innocent child dying, regardless of color, regardless of ideology, I think that's fucking terrible. If we involve now my religion in this too, what I really want to have happen is I want for Karmelo Anthony to end up in hell after he's strung up, okay? This is what I want, okay? They say an eye for an eye makes the world blind. Well, justice is blind, idiot, okay? So let's go back to the Lucas stream, okay? So my point was establishing with him that the skin color does not make an air of trustworthiness or some kind of measure of whether or not your verdict is sound, what you have to say. Granted, race realism, right? The race realists out there, they're going to say, well, average IQs, this, that, and the other thing, and I don't even want to go there, but I mean, if we're going to consider the idea that Lucas is a black supremacist, I guess that it's fine and fair in his courts if it's accurate to call him a black supremacist because of how he, conducts himself. I would say that race realism is then a valid thing to go off of. So if we're going off of race realism, right, you want a court of your peers, a jury of your peers, right? I've gone over the whole thing. You cannot have extra time dedicated just to find enough people to meet a quota based around skin color, okay? The idea that a non-black jury is somehow invalid to you, again, this is one of the things that to me indicates that Lucas is a race realist, okay? Or a race denialist or something, you know what I mean? So if we go off of those ideas, right, the whole race realism, race denialism, all that kind of stuff, either you are saying that people, according to these ideas of race realism stuff, people who are smarter than your group, there shouldn't be as many of them, right? Because then what would happen is you would make it so that stupid people can't get away with a lighter sentence, right? That's what's suggested to me about the fact that you have allegiance to your own. And I'm not going to give you, too much shit about allegiance to your own, except in the case of this stuff with courts of law and other things like that. All right. So how am I supposed to look at this with someone who comes across like a race realist or race denialist, whatever? How am I supposed to look at this then, right? Because now it's all confused. The fact that we couldn't even get past this, he didn't want to go any deeper. He thought that only he had a point, and I basically keep from allowing him to have his point because I don't need this obscured by his attempts at making it into something that I'm not even trying for us to even go near. I'm not worried about the history of things with this conversation. I don't care about that, right? Because a child was murdered. You understand? I don't care about these conversations about, oh, let's look at the fucking history of things because in the past, blah blah blah, and race, da da da. No, I don't care. A child was murdered, bro. That's it. It's that simple. Either you take issue with that or you don't. And if you don't, there are, I guess you could say, there are opportunities for you to say, oh well, we gotta treat a child so blah blah blah. But again, it's based on everything we've seen, the things I've heard, this, that, and the other thing, I don't get the impression that Austin Metcalf deserved to be stabbed in the fucking chest when you shouldn't even have a knife there in the first place, and you should have left that tent that was not a place for you to be. And if you want to go off this thing that America's free, therefore I can sit wherever I want, okay, well then I'm coming over and I'm shitting in your on your bed. Okay, you're okay with that, right? If I come over, can I shit in your house? If we could just go and be wherever we fucking want to be, right? No, you would have a problem with that, right? You have a problem with that? It's not just because it's out in the public, right? It doesn't mean that you can go wherever you want. I can't go into a changing room as a member of the public just because I feel like it, regardless of whichever changing room that I can't go into any old changing room at a school. Okay, firstly. Secondly, I can't just go into the fucking principal's office and do what I can't just sit where I want. That's not how this works. And if a team's tent, if it's important that those tents are established as places for particular teams, right? I don't know if you believe in borders, I don't know if you believe in keeping a team together and having them focused, because the thing is, right, like you want your team, your track team or whatever, you don't want people from other schools coming over there and being a distraction and potentially causing someone on your team to lose because someone from the Packers was in the other football team's dressing room hooting and hollering about how good yogurt is. As funny as like that kind of thing is, you don't want other people that aren't in your team. You don't want them in your area where your team is supposed to be. Okay? I mean, I don't know if people understand that. I don't know if people understand that you can't just have any old fucking person anywhere just because they want to be there. Okay? So if you're being told to leave an area you're not supposed to be, right? Ordinarily, right? In a place where there's like security or whatever, ordinarily like that person would be fucking manhandled. Okay? But these kids, regardless of what you want to believe, okay, the account I heard is that he was told to leave like 10, 15 times, and then Austin tried to get him to leave physically. Now, if I am just putting my hands on you to like try to get you to get up and leave, in what world is it okay for you to then pull a knife and stab me in the fucking heart? In what world? This is like stupid bullshit. There's no debating this. There's no fucking debating it. Like, and people want to say like what is and isn't understandable makes sense. Granted, honestly, like what I would have done if I was Austin is I would have said to my brother, hey, go get the coach. Get this guy out of here. Go get the coach, and if you have to, go and get the fucking coach from the other team. Get a coach, someone that can manage a situation. Get them to come over here. That's what I would have done. Get them to come over here. This guy's got to go, But Austin, what is told to me, what I'm understanding is that he gave off the impression that he was a natural leader, okay? From like how people had talked about him, that knew him personally. It only makes sense to me that he would try to handle the situation himself. He's trying to be like, the leader of the Thundercats and shit, He's trying to make it so that a situation can be handled, with relative ease. And, if you were to ask me, because Austin Metcalf, I don't think he's one of these people that are online all the time. I don't think that he sees black people as stubborn or anything like that. I think he just saw that this was another student from a different school, right? Because if he had any comprehension about how a lot of these guys are, as it turns out, people that don't leave an area they're not supposed to be in, regardless of who's saying what, including the cops. If the cops telling you to leave, you go, for what, 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 for what? When that's happening, like Austin has likely no comprehension of that. He just sees someone who is also still in school, high school, maybe even coming close to graduating, So, no. Instead, what we do is we just look at, the guy that's not leaving as like a student who can be reasoned with. Because Austin probably is one of those Texans who didn't really see race. Didn't see race. He just saw a student, didn't see race. When, if he had handled it differently, one of a number of things could have happened. Or a mix of things, could have happened, right? A mix of things could have happened. He could have called someone over, an adult or whatever, and likely what would have happened is because, Karmelo, what a name, Karmelo brought a knife. So there would have been some insistence in that empty head of his to, not stick around. If you bring a knife, you have intentions more than likely. Like if I bring a knife outside with me, like my intention is just to keep myself safe and ward people off. Like that is totally it, right? And maybe I have to cut through some bushes or whatever, or someone's car is flipped over, I have to cut their fucking seatbelt. I have my reasons for bringing a knife places, but if I'm told by a fucking bar or a restaurant or whatever that I have to leave because I brought a sickle inside with me, right? Still in the sheath, right? Because that actually did happen. I had a sickle with me. I was traveling, walking around outside, And one of the people working at the bar, they said, "Oh, is that a weapon?" I said, "Yeah, it's a weapon." And they said, "Oh, well, you have to leave. No weapons allowed." I'm like, "Okay." And I didn't go for the obvious smartass thing and say, "Well, everyone in this fucking building is a weapon. What are you gonna do about it?" I didn't do that, right? I just left. I was about to have a nice conversation. They were gonna make a little bit of money off the people that I was with, because the guy that I was with was gonna buy me a beer or whatever, because we were gonna talk about, politics and him getting into a political run. That aside, I see how I sped up my talking just to get through that. When you have things with you that, weapons or whatever, if you have things like that with you, there are intentions to speak on. What does it say about a child bringing a knife to a track meet? What does it say? Question for you, Lucas. What does that say? But it's a hard world out there. So this all happens, right? This whole thing happens, right? Eyewitness reports, even like Karmelo was like, "Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it." When the police were asking questions, stuff, he's owning up to it. He's proud of himself, and why would you do that? Anyone got any guesses? Why you would be so proud that you insist upon telling the cops, "Yeah, I did it. What's up? Yeah, I did it. What's up? I did that. Yeah, I did that." And then you and your family make all this money off this killing, and then now your baby boy's going to prison, and you squandered defense funds because you people don't even care about Karmelo. You decided that you want to take in all this money and spend it on materialistic bullshit, so that you had to get a public defender, and that whole trial went to hell, in part because the person you hired was the suggestion of incompetent, okay? All those things aside, what was my line of questioning, right? What did I want to ask Lucas over here? What did I want to ask him about? Well, so the first thing, of course, we've sort of gotten out of the way, but I'll go over it very briefly. I'll go over it again very briefly. I wanted to figure out if he was under the impression that it was an all-white jury, if he knew why the black jurors that were considered, why they were excused. And then I wanted to, because there seems to be emphasis on that, hey guys, black jury, we don't have any black people in the jury. I wanted to talk with him, let's establish something. History aside, it doesn't matter, right? Because if people are being selected from the public, what matters is competency and fairness. And so that was one of the reasons that you had your fucking black people excluded, because they all said, "Oh, I didn't want to see a brother go to prison." Blah, 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 blah. People want to, with this, they want to bring up O.J. Simpson, right? They want to bring it up. Now, the thing about the O.J. Simpson trial, there's actual video out there of a woman who was on the jury. She said, "Well, we saw this, we viewed this as he was guilty. O.J. Simpson was guilty, right? But we acquitted him. We decided to acquit O.J. Simpson, I'm not even kidding, to get back at white people." So, if we want to talk about history, don't get me fucking started. We want to talk about history, okay? You want to bring up Roe v. Wade? The woman at the center of that, she admitted years later that she regrets that whole thing because it was politically motivated. And I'm sure I could bring up a few other things. I'm sure I could. But you, Lucas, being the black supremacist that I think you want to bring up cases that help your argument. Right? But are you going to bring up Roe v. Wade? Are you going to bring up O.J. Simpson, the truth of that? See, the thing is, right, motivations, whether they be political or racial or whatever, really. Even you could argue that racial cases are political. You could do that. You could argue that. I've seen time and time again with these court cases that the court case, black or white or whatever, there's often some kind of bias in play, okay? Because let's be honest, right? Roe v. Wade, for that to go through and allow for women to have abortions and stuff, that benefits feminists, right? Not a particular race, but it hurts the black community, right? It hurts the black community. It because of like what is caused to happen from the black community now being in the shambles that they are in, right? It hurts the white community as well because we have to put up with people not having a father around and running amok and doing things like whatever you can think of that fits this mention. And so it hurts the black and the white communities, and it makes feminists, Jews, Democrats, it makes them uber happy. It even makes Republicans happy because there's less black people in the world now. Hey, and that's also a care of the Democrat Party too. Cool, right? Yeah. This whole thing, right? If we're trying to look at this case realistically, right, based on the facts, if we're trying to do that, Karmelo Anthony definitely at least deserves to go to prison, and I think 35 years is not enough. I think that's not enough. 50 years at least is what I would give them personally. But the fact of the matter is, again, a child was murdered, right? And it's such a clear-cut case that we have video. We have video of the event, so much of it, right? So many eyewitness testimonies. Why would we ever want any amount of bias to allow for Karmelo Anthony to serve less time? The fact that if he serves half this time, he could get out on parole. So, I mean, that's like the worst part, is that there's a chance that he's back in the street in less than 20 years. People were like really worried that Karmelo was going to get a light sentence, and I feel like he got a medium sentence, if you ask me. But with a court case being so like cut and dry, right? Why would I want any bias, right, involved? And so it's not even a thing about like I don't want black people on the case. I want competent people on. But like if you really ask me, and like I have to like admit to some shit or whatever, let's do that right now. It's preferable to not have people on this panel of jurors that would want a lighter sentence to come down for. So we're talking about Black Panthers, black people. We're talking about BLM. We don't want Democrats on. We don't want any fucking Jews on the jury. We don't want things that make it easier for someone who's guilty as charged, guilty as fucking hell. We don't want any amount of bias to come in that makes it easier for a killer to get off easier. And again, like a lot of what like Lucas wants to focus on or care about or whatever, I'm disqualifying and pushing a lot of that to the side, whatever it could be, because his thing is from the very start of the stream, he thinks 35 years is ludicrous or whatever, right? Fuck you, dude. What are you fucking stupid? So I wanted to figure that out with him, right? I wanted to figure out like why a race with the jurors would even matter. Like, why would you be in support of making it easier for a killer to get off lighter, get off with a lighter sentence? Why would anyone even want that? But if the roles were reversed, a case like this, a lot of these people are like, oh, free my boy Karmelo, he didn't do nothing wrong. A lot of you would be like, oh yeah, put him in fucking because clearly this was murder. But you would disagree, right? Yet you can't, because we already know that that's what would happen. There's no disagreeing allowed here, because we already fucking know. Whether it be the history of things or whatever else you could mention, all I have to do is just take your temperature, your pulse, your tone. And this guy wants to go and say some shit about, low IQ. I was low IQ. You didn't even like answer the question. You kept dodging the fucking question. And this is rooted in the fact that I dismissed your attempt at us bringing up history. Because again, I already brought up history, okay? I already did that, alright? So, and the fact that like we definitely want this kid to be treated like an adult and to go away for a real long fucking time. Why would I even allow for you to have us approach things where history matters when, from the perspective of viewing history objectively, okay, you want to try to argue that we make it easier for Karmelo to get off with a lighter sentence. You would argue in favor of that because, again, I've got you pegged as a black supremacist. The comments that you're fucking making over here and how fiery your audience is, not that your audience is necessarily a reflection of you, because people are going to be smart or stupid regardless of the speaker. They're going to be themselves, right? They may be prompted to say some things because of the speaker, but that's all beside the point. So I want to figure out if the race even mattered, right, to someone like Lucas, because he wants to run his fucking mouth without regard for what it means for him to say some of the dumb shit that he's saying. Okay, and I haven't heard the stuff that he's saying, but I treat like all of the arguments by people that want Karmelo to have a lighter sentence. I treat all the arguments of those people who wanted to have a lighter sentence as though like they are nothing but deficient because you are arguing in favor of a lighter sentence for someone who murdered a child in front of his brother. The child that was murdered died in front of his brother and in the arms of his brother. What the fuck do I care what you think of that? You're arguing in favor of a murderer. So yeah, I'm going to push your care for examining history aside because fuck you. And this isn't about you so much as it is just like me trying to understand you, right? And like, that sounds contradictory, but it's that, I'm looking to have you speak, in response to some questions. That's like where the you part comes in, is I want to see how you respond to questions because I'm curious what, air quotes, black supremacist thinks of some things, right? The line of questioning. So, obviously the race matters a whole lot to him, enough that he refuses to answer a question and go down the line of questioning because we're here to call into you. Like, we're here to ask you questions. So why are you dictating the question? Because there's a line of questioning. It leads into more, right? So he's a coward and a brainless one at that, heartless one at that as well. I wanted to figure out from him, because I don't really have understanding of this, but why he thinks like the people are in bed with each other, like to do with like the prosecution, the family, and everything else. Like, why is that? Because it doesn't make sense to me to think that that's a thing that's going on. I mean, maybe that is, but it doesn't make sense to me because the father, Austin Metcalf's father, whatever the guy's name is, he was an ass kiss for peace, right? He tried to make peace with the situation. He I guess he had forgiven the killer. That is what I had seen. That's what I had heard as well. That he had forgiven the killer, and then when he went to show up where the killer's family was, like everyone in the building was like chimping out, as they say, freaking out, all this other shit, and giving him trouble when he was just there because he cares about his son, this, that, and the other thing. So I don't understand why people, unless it's like you want to make sure that you get the killer good, but like if you forgive your son's killer, why would you seek? This is so fucking crazy to me. Why would you seek then, unless there's a different... This is why I wanted to ask Lucas about it, because I don't see him necessarily as dishonest so much as I see him as a fucking idiot, right? So, but even though I think he's a fucking moron, he may know some shit that I don't know about the situation, and I would look into that because it's like, well, I haven't heard that. Wow, okay, that's interesting. I'm trying to figure out about like there being connections between like people involved that could like put Karmelo away for as long as he probably should be put away, because it doesn't make if the father is involved. People are trying to say the father's about things like the father's involved. He's friends with like the DA or whatever people are saying. I don't know why that would matter when Austin Metcalf's father, like, he was resigned to not caring so much that his son was murdered. Because if you cared, you wouldn't be, like, so quick to forgive your son's murderer, unless you got a call, as they like to say. Did you get the call? Which, as it turns out, that's a thing that's increasingly happened. If someone's child is murdered, you get, like, a visit or something. So I don't know. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's actually happening because of how things have been going lately. So like I don't understand that idea. I don't understand it. I wanted to pursue figuring that out. I'm lost for words and thoughts as far as I'm concerned. Now this is where it gets fun. What I wanted to figure out after a point or two is what's like the acceptable number of like times that you're asked to leave somewhere where you're not supposed to be. I wanted to figure out if Lucas accepts the idea that people don't have to listen to like others about leaving, right? Because if you're so wholly consumed by the idea that you should just be allowed to do whatever you want, again, like let me come over and shit in your bathroom. Let me come over and fucking do your dishes. And after I do your dishes, I'm gonna have a bit of food as payment. Let me come over, let me sleep in your bed. Is that alright? Can I sit in your car? Can I do that? Can I open and close your garage door until like the fucking battery burns out? Can I do that? Like what's acceptable? What is acceptable? Are you the kind of person that just thinks that it's okay to act however, and that you shouldn't be told how to act, and you shouldn't be punished for how you behave? I wanted to figure this out from Lucas because he prides himself on a sense of intelligence. Meanwhile, there's no wisdom. There's no wisdom in him because your concern, your issue, right, would be that a child was murdered, and you would want someone that kills or killed a child to be dealt with, right? But you can't claim wisdom if not only are you overlooking that, you are in pursuit of overlooking that, or in the process of overlooking that, you are pursuing like a tribal shit. Because again, like what I gather from how Lucas treats things is tribalism has to be at the heart of where I am with this. Like I have to have allegiance to color. So if that's the case, this drives me crazy. If that's the case, if that's how you want to operate, dude, then I'm then given the authority with my own logic, right, to ignore your fucking stupid complaint that there were no black jurors. Like, we have to put everything on hold just to get someone in that could be deceptive, that would hold things up for longer than need be necessary, right? And, like, a lot of people, myself included, don't even want Karmelo in prison. We just want him strung up from a fucking tree. You understand? Because that's taxpayer money. We're wasting taxpayer money when rope and bullets and these things, they're a lot cheaper. Because you killed someone. We should bring capital punishment back. Like, just like, if we are people that care about how money is being spent, if it's being spent properly or not, then we are going to take issue with the idea that we should completely hold up the process of getting this done, because we got to make it fair according to DEI bastards. We have to do that. We have to do that, right? We have to hold things up just to make things fair according to you and get someone in. Take forever, right? Or however long, right? To get in a total cast of jury members that you find fair, right? You find this ensemble fair because you can see yourself in the jury. And so it takes however long it's going to take, and then you have the high potential of someone being biased and not admitting that they would be deceptive and everything else, just to get in to make things harder and throw a wrench in everything, in order to get this kid a lighter deal, And like, again, I go back to like what I was trying to get Lucas to engage, the fucking coward, how dare he. I was trying to get him to engage the idea that, the people on the jury wouldn't be fair because they're not black. And it's like, you're saying that the people that are on the jury are not trustworthy. They shouldn't be allowed to be on so much as a black person because, because there's no black people there, you have to doubt that they would be as effective in rendering a proper judgment. But you cowered away from that because I said that I don't give a shit about your attempts at bringing up history. And I'll go over it again real quick. if we're going off of history and precedent and all this other shit, okay, you are getting yourself in trouble by having us engage that, because then I will bring up the things I brought up already. Fucking Roe v. Wade and O.J. Simpson. I would bring these up with you, but you're a coward who can't fucking debate people properly because you're a fucking coward. And not very smart, honestly. You're not really fucking smart. I would change your channel name to the fucking dumb bitch, honestly, Lucas. Because, you know, your whole showing is pathetic. The fact that you would run away from something like this. Like a simple question, because you didn't want to answer the fucking question. You're a fucking coward. And you're not a man. I don't care how big and muscly you are. Words are too much for you. You can't handle the fact that, you know, your attempts at being on top of the conversation are being rejected because they're not worthy. They're not worth time or consideration because they're fucking stupid. You know, you could bring up a million fucking cases, but you would just cherry pick. When it's like Roe v. Wade and OJ, those were incredibly important cases. And I have to ask, like, you know, what cases do you think you would have brought up that are more important than OJ and Roe v. Wade? Again, like, there's motivations, right? I mean, there are plenty of, you know, elections that are also cheated. There are plenty of elections. I'm not even really talking about just American elections. For fuck's sake, you know, I believe it was Mexico, the lady who won a seat down there. She's only in the position that she's in because everyone else that was in the running was assassinated. Okay? Ugh. This thing where you're throwing a fucking fit or whatever over Karmelo Anthony getting 35 years, which is just not enough. It's also if either 50 years plus or string them up. But, you know, it's, you know, fucked up. It just is. And, you know, I am ashamed to have bothered with trying to talk to you and waste my time. I was on hold for 15 minutes, dude. 15, 20 minutes just to have you run away like a pussy. You know, this is pathetic. And the fact that you think that you have anything to speak on to do with this other than a collection of miserable ignorance, racist, miserable ignorance, black supremacist, miserable fucking ignorance. Like, this is pathetic, and so are you, honestly. And I hope you have a good day and a good life, and that you find Jesus, and that you get baptized. And if you found Jesus and you've gotten baptized, and you think that it's okay for an innocent child to be murdered by one of yours, well, all I can really say is it doesn't surprise me that you are the descendants of Ham. It doesn't surprise me at all. And, you know, you people are truly cursed if you think that a child killer should get off with a lighter sentence or get away completely innocent, because it's not about right or wrong. It's about black versus white, and that ain't right.